All right, guys, today we're going to talk about fasteners. When you think of fasteners, it's an incredible area because if it wasn't for fasteners, everything will come apart. A fastener, just like kind of the word is saying, is fastening, putting things together so that they don't come apart. So things that are considered fasteners are like bolts, screws, nails, anything that can put together or hold something. But in this case, we're going to talk more of the mechanical type of fasteners, like bolts and so forth. So when you think of a bolt, it's usually like the head of the bolt is like hex. So it's got a hex shape, hexagonal, that's what I mean when I say hex. So this kind of will be like a hexagonal type shape. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 sides. And the 6 sides is what makes it hexagonal. So if we make it a little bit more dimensional, let's say we make it like this, or like that, or like that. That would be kind of like the head of a bolt. Then you have the other part of the bolt right here. Then usually you have threads here that are holding this together, that are able to put together. Then you have a nut that this goes into, some kind of a nut. And the nut usually hex as well, you know, like that. Kind of like that.
Not bad.
Now it's a little bit more bigger, it's not the exact dimension, but you get the idea. Now there's certain things that you have to know about the bolts and everything else so that you can pick the bolt, the right bolt, and so forth. One of the things that you have to know is that the length of a bolt, and this is the bolt, this is the nut down here, is usually from right here to right here. That's the length of the bolt. So we're going to call this, let's say you call C, and C is the length. Some people think it's from here to the top of the head. It's not. On a bolt is from here to here. That's the length. Okay? Then you have the grip length of this bolt will be like some bolts don't have threads all the way through. They only have threads that go to a certain location. And let me see, where's the eraser right here? Up there. So they might be like this. So a bolt may be just, I'm gonna make it with black, so it's the same. Undo. So a bolt comes here, and let's say you have the threads up to just this point. These are the threads, and then there's nothing in here. Okay? So that area is called the grip length of this bolt. So from here to here. Grip length. Grip length. Okay, TH. So you have the grip length, then you have the thread. These are the threads. Which is what's fastening to that. And then the C will be just the length, the overall length, as I put there, length. Okay? So those are the areas that you have to know. There's also something very important, which is this area right here. I'm just going to take the nut off here so that's easier for you guys to see. So if we didn't have the nut, just we had the bolt here. And usually the bolts are like this. They're not perfectly square, but they have a little bit like that.
Looked at.
So this distance between here and here, that's the diameter. If we were to take this part and put it on the other side, we would see that that part is like the bottom of this, like if you're looking into here. If you're looking right into here, straight down there, it will look like a circle. And the diameter of a circle is that distance, right? From here
To the middle.
all the way there, passing through the center. That's the diameter. That's why it's called diameter. Passes right through the center, and that's how big that is. Now, when you see this in blueprints, they don't write the word diameter. Diameter is a long word to write it down. So instead of that, they put a symbol, which is like that. When you see that, that means diameter. Don't get confused with that, meaning 0 or phi or phi. There's another Greek letter. This is the diameter. I mean, I exaggerated with my line. Maybe it's more like this.
No, right.
Right? So that's the symbol for the diameter.
Will that symbol appear after the number?
Yeah, so let's say this is 1/2 inch. So this will be 1/2. That tells you how big that is. And that will go into a hole that's 1/2 inch long. You need to know that just to see if that will fit where you need it to fit. Okay? There's other markings in there that we need to be aware of. If it's an American inch base type of a bolt, there will be markings here. See those little lines? How many markings do you see, little lines? There's one. You can start anywhere. There's a 1, there's a 2, there's a 3, there's a 4, there's a 5, there's a 6. Okay? You have 6 lines. You add 2 more, and this is going to be an 8th grade bolt. What is the 8th grade bolt mean? It's how strong this is before it breaks off that head and comes apart when you use it. So you got to look at a chart where it tells you grade 1, grade 2, tells you how much tensile strength. To be a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, but usually it's 1, 3, 8, and something like that. Tells you how much force is needed before that comes apart. Okay? So what's the way to do it? Again, I'm going to repeat it. You count how many lines you have. There's 1 line, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In this case, there's 6. Those markings, and then you add 2 more. Now, where does that 2 more come from? You won't be able to see it. You just know that as a rule. Whatever is there, you add 2 more, and that's the grade. So let's see if you guys understand this. If I have one that's marked,
You always add the number 2?
you add 2 to that, to whatever markings you have. This is a hexagon right here. And you have these markings. Go ahead and write down what grade is that. You only have those 3 markings. Yep. It's a 5 grade. You have 3 markings. 3 plus 2. It's a 5 grade bolt. 5 grade.
So basically, those lines that you have on the bolt, whether you have 6 or 3, they're referring to, I guess you could say,
The strength, the strength.
vertices of the. But I'm saying like those lines, of course, are not on the bolt itself.
They
So-
are.
Oh, they are. Those
They
lines,
are on the bolt.
Those lines are
If you
on
go
the
grab a
bolts?
bolt right now, and if it's an inch base type of American measurement type of bolt, you know, not a metric bolt, you would have markings.
I guess I never looked at the
Yeah, you never,
bolts.
yeah, that's why you gotta pay attention to the head of the bolt.
So you're
It's the
talking about
head of the bolt, and you gotta look at those markings.
So that's
Do you-
six, right?
I don't think
And
we
then-
have one at the moment that I
And
can
they
show
put
you.
those on purpose there, so
Yes,
you
so
can find
you
out
know what
grade.
grade they are.
Okay, how many different lines can there be on the,
Well, usually they're like 3 grade or 8 grade, not that many. Now, this is the American system of how, to just show you how strong the bolts are. The international system, the metric system, does not use these little markings. They use numbers. So you will see a marking. So if this would be metric bolt, you would not have those lines on the head. You would have, let me redraw kind of this bolt here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here's the head of that bolt. You have something like 8.8 or something like that. And if you see an 8, what is that? Is it an 8 grade? No, it's not. Because the international, they don't use grades, they use classes. So their system is based on not grades, class. So if you have an 8, it's an 8.8, you have an 8 class. 8 class type of bolt. And there's another chart that you look at, and it tells you what strength, what tensile strength that has before it breaks. And you can compare them. And you can say, because an 8 grade, 8 class bolt is not the same as an 8 grade. They don't have the same. Because when you compare the tensile strength, they are not the same. They're very similar, close to it, but they're not exactly the same. So don't think because there's an 8, that's an 8 grade. No, that's an 8 class. You have to look in the chart to see how much force it would take to break them apart, the tensile strength.
will we encounter situations in the real world where we will get?
Well, it depends on what you're building. If you're building things that are going to be pulled apart, and you need to make sure you put the right bolt because that would not hold. So let's say you put in something that there's a lot of force exerted to come apart. You put the wrong bolt, and the force is greater than what that bolt can withstand, then that bolt will pop and break, and then it will come apart. I was watching a documentary on bridges, so let's talk about bridges. Let's say you're building a bridge, or you're part of a team doing a bridge, and you're doing a repair on a bridge, and they're using bolts. And the bolts, they tell you they have to be grade 12, let's say, so they withstand a lot. And you happen to go to the shop, and you find a bolt, it looks the same, but it has only 3 little markings there, and you take it and you put it in there, well, that might be the bolt that breaks. Because it's not a grade 12, it would be a grade 5. If you have 3 lines, it's 5. So you gotta make sure, depending where you work and what you're doing, there might be a call to tell you these bolts that are here, they can withstand certain type of forces. They need to be strong enough to withstand and hold down. So that's why you need to learn about bolts and the markings, so you know to put the correct bolt. Now, if you're putting things together that doesn't require a lot of force to come apart, yeah, you might be able to get along just putting a grade 3 bolt, and you'll be fine, and it'll be cheaper. Grade 5 is much expensive bolts, grade 12 even more. And there's special bolts for many different things. But you need to know that so that you put the right bolt where it needs to go, the markings, okay? Again, 2 systems. The American system is not numbers, it's little lines, markings, and then you go by grades. The European system has numbers, and it goes by classes. But either one of these, you have charts that you can compare and see what are the tensile strengths for them. The only difference is that the grade system uses PSI sometimes for pressure and other and other units. The European system will use like Newton meters. So you may need to do conversions between them. Okay, so there's different units for forces and pressures, depending what units you're using. All right, so that's about bolts. Let's talk about a couple more things. All right, so the bolts that are like metric, they're called metric, and they usually have a M number. So M16, what does that mean? What's an M16?
Gun?
Is that a gun? Is that like a,
The
like
force,
a,
maybe?
what do you call that, an agency? Or M6?
M12.
Is it M16 or M6 from
M12.
like European? MI6, is that MI6? M16 just means that the bolt's metric 16 millimeters diameter. If it would be the other system, the American so-called system, is also called the Unified National. So they call Unified National. Let me erase that. That looks like a Washington.
And that's the what metric system?
Unified National System,
For who?
that's the American inch system for the bolts, for all the labeling and all the standards. Okay, United National, so UN, right? United National. Or American National sometimes, but United National. And that refers to the tread as well. The tread, you know, how many of these little lines do you have there?
Unified National Inch.
Right. So this bolt could be a unified national type of bolt, which is measured in inches. And there's two types. One is coarse, and the other one is fine. That's talking about the treads. How many of these little treads do you have here? The coarse is something that you don't have that many treads per inch. Okay? UNC they call it. So for example, when you go buy a bolt and it's a 1/2 inch, they sell two types of 1/2 inch diameter bolts. Usually two types. One may be 13 threads, and another finer one, maybe 15 or 18
There's only two?
threads per inch. Well, mainly you will find this, but you could find more per inch. That means if you were to put a measuring device here, a measure, right here, you will measure 13 of these little threads. If it's the coarse type of the other one. The other one's either 15 or 18. Let's check. So if I were to buy a 1/2 inch bolt, okay? You normally when you go buy this, let me go right here and show you, you would see something like this. First thing that shows up in any specifications as far as bolts is going to be the diameter. So what did we say the diameter is of this particular one? In our example, it's a 1/2 inch, right? So it will be 1/2 inch. So the first thing you're going to see is the diameter. That's the symbol for diameter. The next thing you're going to see is the length. I'm sorry, the treads. If it says 13, what does that mean?
It's coarse.
There's 13 little threads in here per inch. And then the last number is how long it is. So you have a times, let's say 2. That's how long this is. So this would be like a 2 inch. So that 2 refers to that length. The 13 refers to how many threads there are. That 1/2 inch refers to this diameter. That distance between here and here. You gotta be able to read this number and realize what it is saying. This tells you it's a 1/2 inch diameter with 13 threads per inch, and the 2 means how long is that? It's 2 inches. Okay?
So when you're in the hardware store, will it be?
That's how
that'll be
you will
labeled
find
at
it.
That's exactly.
That's how it
how
will be
appear?
labeled there. Or when you buy it online, like right now I'm looking on my phone. If I want to buy it online, it tells me the different vendors and it tells me what it is. Oh, I see that there's a finer one, which is a half 22. So there's another one that you could buy. Remember I told you 13? Then the next one that they sell that I